bodily harm and unlawful wounding in relation to the incident, which occurred on January 19. Former Hanover Western Member of Parliament, the People's National Party's Ian Hales, is denying any wrongdoing after the Office of the Contractor General referred him to the police for further investigation into fraud and conspiracy allegations. The former MP has accused the former Contractor General of malice while simultaneously thanking him for clearing his name. He made the declaration on a social media video yesterday.
Sit here this morning and I can say to you that on page 202 of this report, the Contractor General said that he finds no evidence linking me to any other properties. So I thank him for exonerating me. That's number one. Number two is that the Contractor General, out of malice, went further. After he didn't find anything in 232 pages, he went further.
The OCG, in their reports, has asked the police to determine whether Hales and his wife committed forgery in relation to buildings that were constructed in Hanover without the approval of the Hanover Parish Council, and whether Hales breached the Corruption Prevention Act. The report by the OCG, which has since been submitted by the Integrity Commission, was tabled in Parliament on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the Hales family, including Ian Hales' mother, Pauline Gray, who was also mentioned in the report, in a statement through their lawyer, King's Counsel Peter Champagny, have professed their innocence in the matter. King's Counsel Champagny charged that neither them individually or collectively participated in any criminal conduct that would warrant any form of investigation into the matter reported by the Integrity Commission. Opposition spokesperson on health, Dr. Maurice Guy, is demanding that the health ministry make public the Pan American Health Organization PAHO full report on special care nurseries following the death of 12 newborns at the Victoria Jubilee Hospital last year. The main findings and recommendations were shared at the Ministry of Health and Wellness media briefing on Tuesday. Dr. Guy said he was not satisfied with the release of a summary. He added that this suggests, just like when the ministry had hid that occurrence at the VJH, that the ministry has reasons to hide something. Dr. Guy charged that the report from PAHO should indicate what was the basis for their intervention at the Bustamante Hospital for Children and Spanish Town Hospital. He said that when the country became aware of the neonatal deaths last year, there were concerns that the government was not providing sufficient funds from the adequate cleaning of facilities. PAHO's recommendation pointed to a deficit in the cleaning and infection protocols they assessed the public health facilities. And there were no new active cases of monkeypox or mpox in the latest update from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. In the bulletin up to Sunday, January 22, 2023, the ministry reported that there were no new cases, no recoveries, no active cases, or death. And for news further afield, a 22-year-old American airline flight attendant was shot and killed, and another person injured following a shooting in Trinidad and Tobago Tuesday night. According to a Trinidad police, Shakir Wells and his 19-year-old friend Martin Stewart went to visit a friend in Wallerfield. Wells stepped out of his vehicle and spoke with a woman who was outside the house. The woman said she heard explosions and saw Stewart running from the back of the house. The gunman then escaped in Wells' Hyundai vehicle. Police officers from a nearby post took Wells and Stewart to the Arima Hospital, where Wells died early Wednesday morning. The wounded man was transferred to another hospital and remains in stable condition. And for our international story, we join Jeffrey Tavares.
The United States has put a visa restriction on Nigeria.
The United States is banning the entry of certain individuals in Nigeria who they believe are responsible for undermining democracy in Nigeria ahead of the country's elections.
Millions could die as coronavirus worsen in China.
672 million cases, 6.7 million deaths, and 193 countries is the havoc which the Chinese Wuhan virus has inflicted upon us.
At least 9 Palestinians killed, 20 injured in Israeli raids.
Palestinian officials claim at least 9 Palestinians have been killed and 20 others injured after a raid by Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank.
President Biden called for a ban on all assault rifles.
U.S. President Joe Biden urges a ban on all assault weapons. The call comes amid a series of mass shootings in California.
I am Jeffrey Tavares for Roots FM News.
And those were the stories making City News standby for the weather report with Marcia Williams.
Good afternoon. This is the weather report, and I'm Marcia Williams. There's a weak trough across Jamaica. The trough is expected to remain across the island through to tomorrow morning. A high pressure ridge is then expected to build across Jamaica by Friday afternoon. This afternoon will be partly cloudy and become windy along the south coast. Tonight will remain fair. The maximum temperature in Kingston today is 30 degrees Celsius. And regionally, there's a cold front across the Gulf of Mexico. And that was the weather report. Please stand by for Sports Link with Dudley Thompson.
It is now time for Sports Link on Roots and the 6.1 FM.
Welcome to Sports Link, and we kick off things in football. Reggae Boys defender Damian Lowe has joined the national captain Andre Blake at last season's beaten MLS finalist Philadelphia Union in the United States Major League. The 29-year-old completed the move on Wednesday after spending 1 year at the David Beckham-owned Inter Miami FC. Lowe's move to the Union is in exchange for $225,000 in 2023 general allocation money and a 2024 natural first-round draft pick. Lowe made 28 appearances for Inter Miami, where he scored once. He has earned 50 caps for the Reggae Boys team. Hornet Gardens were left frustrated as they were held to a 0-0 draw by second from the bottom Falkland in the Jamaica Premier League's Monday night football fixtures at the Anthony Spaulding Sports Complex. Falkland had to wait for 11 games to make their Monday night football debut, and despite their position in the table, the Montego Bay-based Falkland not only battled hard but were close to stealing 3 points themselves. Head coach Landcroft Letman believes that the key to their performance was a better understanding of what it meant to play together. Falkland had a chance to win the game in the second half stoppage time, but was foiled by Hornet Gardens goalkeeper Eric Edwards. While the result kept them in the relegation place, they are no longer at the bottom in the point standing as Chapelton's Maroons' 6 points deduction after their forfeiture of the Mount Pleasant game on Sunday placed Falkland above them. Meanwhile, Hornet Gardens assistant coach Eric Randemaker was upset that they missed chances in the first half, which included Ajami Johnson putting the ball over the bar from close range with a goal at his mercy. Falkland are in 13th place with 3 points, while Hornet Gardens moved to 18 points. Football administrator and current chairman of the Professional Football Jamaica Limited, PFJL, Christopher Williams, has come to the conclusion that there are too many teams playing in the country's top flight league. The Jamaica Premier League now sports 14 teams, and according to Williams, ideally, the league should have 10 teams for there to be the potential for real growth and stability. Williams, who insisted that his opinion was a personal one and was not to be taken on as the opinion of the PFJL, believes that it is experience in a number of fronts had led to an inevitable conclusion. And for news in cricket, the West Indies under-19 women's team ended their participation at the World Cup in South Africa on Wednesday following a humbling 95-run defeat to England in their Super 6 clash in South Africa. England piled up 179 for 4 from their 20 overs, thanks to 56 from Grace Shivers, 29, and Krishia Pavi, and 28 from Shervin Smale. The West Indies also bowled 23 extras. Ashimi Masira claimed 2 for 32. Their chance, the West Indies, labored to 84 for 8, while Dejaba Joseph, 44, and Asabi Kalindre, 17, being the only batters to get into double figures. Joseph hit 6 fours in the innings that saw the West Indies reeling at 23 for 4 after 7 overs. The Caribbean women won only 2 of their 5 matches. And former Cricket West Indies CWI President Dave Cameron says the search for the next permanent head coach of the West Indies senior men's team should be expanded into including potential candidates outside of the Caribbean. The former CWI boss says the credential of the new head coach should take precedence over nationality. Jamaican Andre Coley was recently appointed as interim head coach for the West Indies' upcoming tour of Zimbabwe and South Africa. And those are the stories making City News. And for a recap of our top stories, the Financial Services Commission (FSC) has obtained a court order to block the directors of the fraud hit Stocks and Securities Limited (SSL) from winding up or liquidating its assets. Education Minister Favour Williams has condemned as unprofessional and inexcusable the conduct of a teacher at the Newell High School in St. Elizabeth, who was seen in a video verbally assaulting, chasing, and threatening a student with death. And the police said the situation is back to normal at the Ocho Rios police station after a standoff between inmates and officers at the station on Wednesday. One inmate was treated and released from hospital, while at least 4 others were taken by a police truck and chartered away from the Ocho Rios lockup after what police inspector described as a major disturbance at the facility. The news today was brought to you by our parent company, the Mustard Seed Communities, caring for the most vulnerable. Thanking our listeners on the 96.1 FM dial, and also persons tuning in via our website at rootsfmjamaica.com, and also persons on our social media platforms. I'm Owen Brown.
I am Martha Williams.
And on behalf of the entire team, have a wonderful afternoon. Stand by for City Beat.